Alright people, today we are reviewing the Saramonic Blink500 ProX Q5. That is quite a handful if I have to say so myself. I would have gone with the name scheme of maybe Saramonic Blink500 ProX USB-C. Yeah, I know it sounds like a longer description than Q5, but what does Q5 mean? Unless you go read the fine print or go and look at the pictures or anything like that. USB Type-C. This is literally what separates this one from any of the others. The Saramonic Blink500 ProX Q5 is a 2.4 GHz wireless microphone system specifically designed for Android phones. Now you do get different variations of this. You get the Q3, the Q4, Q5 and the Q6. One would be for the Lightning port, one would be for Android's USB Type-C or any other mobile device that uses USB Type-C, or any device for that matter, because you can also plug this in on your computer and it just works. And then you have the separate receiver that you can connect with anything like RF, you can have a USB Type-C to Type-C cable, like it has a bunch of different options and variations. Then to make it more confusing, they added the B line, which is B1 or something to be like, I don't know, like whatever they thought was gonna be a smart move there. From what I could see, the Q line is basically just the cheaper or the like smaller form factor version of what the rest of the like product line has to be or is supposed to be. But enough about that, let's actually get into the specifications. I'm gonna read them from the box since I don't have them memorized at all, and I don't want to give you guys like any false information, right? So what do they say with the features? Up to 100-meter wireless operating range, and then we have a 3.5mm headphone jack for real-time monitoring, which by the way is not on the microphone, it's on the receiver itself. And that is for the cameraman or the person recording from their side. If you're a lone operation and you have the setup like I do right now, then the headphone jack's not really gonna actually help you unless you are recording something else and still speaking into the microphone, where in most cases I wouldn't even do that. To be honest, it doesn't really make sense to do that then, because you're literally right next to the actual camera, which, yeah, fair enough, you have the added benefit of having a little bit better microphone, but if your mission is to get the point across, then I mean, I'm not sure if that makes any difference. Moving on, we have the built-in omnidirectional mic for 360 degrees sound pickup, which is very good if you're outside. It's amazing because it picks up your voice really well, and it doesn't matter where you are. Like you can look to your right and it'll still pick up your voice. You can look to your left and it'll still pick up your voice pretty much fine. You can even look up if you really want to and it'll still pick up your voice. Maybe not as good because the sound's traveling upwards. What it does mean, however, is when you're in a studio environment like I am right now, it does make this a kind of a difficult situation. because then it not only picks up your voice, but it picks up all the echo and reverberations. Whereas when you have a, let's say, a cardioid microphone and you're working from home or from a studio setup like this, then the cardioid pickup pattern will, instead of picking up everything in a 360 degrees, it'll pick up just the area in front of the microphone, just so that it kind of negates some of that extra sound that is, everywhere around you. Moving on to the next feature, and that is ideal for live streaming, vlogging, mobile journalism, and more. Now, I don't know how that's a feature. Like, is it a specific, like, is this just with this mic where it's, wow, this mic's feature it is ideal for vloggers and live streamers. All my wireless microphone systems are ideal, essentially, because that's what it's made for. So, weird thing to put on the box, but I mean, I don't judge. And then last but not least, it is compatible with Android phones, tablets, and other devices with the Type-C jack. Essentially what I said just a little bit earlier, any device that has USB Type-C, it will work probably on it. Now, as for the mic quality, obviously what you're hearing right now, like I said, was in a studio environment, and I turned down the volume of the microphone itself. Because with a lot of Android phones, I don't know if iPhone has the same issue, and I don't know if all Android phones have this issue, but specifically on my Samsung, and I've seen this with the other Samsungs that I've had as well in the past, when you put in an external microphone and you use a normal camera app to, even like Pro Video mode, to create some footage or to create some content, it generally pushes the gain of the microphone very, very high. So if you're somebody that would like to have a little bit less gain on the microphone or more control over the microphone, I would, either suggest getting a separate third-party app that kind of controls all of that. Or on the other hand, you can also then work on the volume of the microphone itself, which is what I did in this situation, because it can get really, really loud. Now for the microphone test, the sound volume, I'm gonna go all the way down to 0 volume. You won't hear anything. And then I'm gonna work my way up. So I'm gonna keep on speaking so that you guys can actually have kind of an idea of when I'm gonna turn the volume down. This is gonna be the first click, and then from there I'm gonna do this. Up. You should theoretically start to hear me speak, but this might be the point where this kind of starts to get pretty loud. You might even hear me clicking the actual physical mic. And that is what I found with this mic is, with the mic itself, it kind of picks up everything. Even if you just touch the mic, it does kind of pick that up. So I would suggest just clipping it on your shirt and then just leaving it as is. But this is basically the sound max for the Saramonic Blink500 ProX Q5, specifically paired with the camera app, the default camera app of Samsung. Now that I've gotten a chance to go outside, I can actually test the microphone in an actual real-world scenario. This is actually pretty windy, so I don't know if you guys are gonna actually hear any major wind noises because of obviously the wind muff, but this is kind of an example of what you can expect the Saramonic Blink500 ProX Q5 to perform in a real-world situation. This is what the Saramonic Blink500, at least this specific variant, sounds like without any wind mufflers, so you should theoretically pick up a lot of the wind noise that would be all around me right now. Now, next up, we're gonna do the distance test. All right, I'm pointing the camera to the other side right now just to see if we can kinda just walk in one direction and see if the microphone still picks up. Now, you will notice that I'm not even looking at you guys, I'm just walking towards the other way. And that is because I wanna see if the microphone can also pick up through a body, because that is kind of a large interference point. I think I'm about 30 meters away right now. I can still see my phone pretty clearly. You guys can probably still pretty clearly see me. Okay, I'm going over a small hill, or did go over a small hill right now, and I basically cannot go any further than I am. Now, this might be 100 meters, might be 50. I'm not somebody that can actually just tell you from the top of my head how far I actually am from the camera, but it looks like, pretty far. So this is kind of a distance test, right? To see if it would pick up if you need to walk somewhere and have a shot, I don't know, at the end of the street, or maybe you want a shot where you're walking down the beach, or I don't know, something similar like that. The wind is now directly blowing against me and also directly blowing into the microphone. So there is also the slight likelihood that if the wind muff isn't very well designed, that it might just be a case where the wind just goes crazy and you can absolutely hear nothing that I'm saying right now. If you are, let's say a car reviewer, or you're planning on being a car reviewer, this is kind of what you can expect from the Saramonic Blink500 ProX Q5 if you want to use a smartphone or any other USB-C compatible device and just like kind of drive around, give your opinion on how you think the car drives, how it feels, you know, the normal stuff that every other car reviewer does. At the moment, there are some noises in the car. I've got the aircon running, which isn't, to be fair, it isn't very, very loud, but also at the same time, I mean, it's still an aircon. You still have the car noises. You still have like the safety belt holder kind of screeching somewhat, I guess. All right, so realistically, what do I actually think about the Saramonic wireless mic? Well, my negatives about it are, for one, the name scheme. That just, it doesn't make sense. The name scheme is just, you have to change that. I mean, if you have so many variations, kind of find a group to categorize a lot of them, because it can confuse a lot of people. I mean, take for example this mic, right? Yeah, this is the Q5. But what they don't tell you is that the Q series and the B series, those two are vastly different, even though both are the Pro X version. So they, I think, theoretically use the same components on the inside. But the Q series, it doesn't have an LED screen. But where the B series has a whole as LED screen on it where you can like monitor how loud your voice is, if it actually is working, or whatever you want to like figure out, you can figure that out, which is absolutely fantastic. And it kind of sucks that the Q series doesn't have that on, but it's not the end of the world. Like that's probably my, like the worst thing about this mic is the name scheme, which is, I mean, that's pretty great. That's the fact, to be honest. I think that the noise level, the bass noise level is a bit high, but not as much as you would think. Like it's not high enough so that it can like, I don't know, bother the viewer like a lot. I've been streaming with this microphone for at least 2 or 3 times now, well, since the time of this recording, and nobody's like actually even, like they've barely noticed unless I tell them. And I think I've had one situation where somebody said there was some background noise, and that wasn't even the background noise, that was my computer being loud because it was hot. So it's not, I don't even know if that's justified at all. So yeah, that's basically the two negatives that I can think of for this microphone. Now, for the positives, there are quite a few. I have to say there are quite a few positives. One, definitely the distance. I mean, 100 meters, that's a bold claim, first of all, but even if it weren't a bold claim, that's like the distance is still stupidly long. I checked the recording. I mean, I could barely see myself in the camera, and still you could like clearly hear me as if I was standing right next to you with literally no added, like real added latency, which is phenomenal that they can do that on a 2.4 gigahertz band. Like it doesn't almost make sense. One more thing that I really love about this microphone is, of course, the quality. You can hear my voice basically just as well as I can hear my voice. Like you hear what I'm hearing, and it does a fantastic job of picking up like very specific sounds that your voice makes. I don't know if it's because it's technically that loud. I mean, this thing is on its like, I don't know, the lowest possible volume setting, or maybe the second lowest volume setting without turning it off entirely. So it is a bit loud. That's probably one more negative, is it's really loud. But I think it's that way for when it's like super windy outside, or you're in a situation where you need to be heard more, or you want to like have more than one person that's kind of talking. Then you can have it like much louder, and you can kind of hold the mic in between two people. So I think that's why they did that. But furthermore, the quality is insane. The packaging is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I love the packaging. I want to carry that thing all the time with me. So that's pretty cool. So it's the quality, it's the packaging, and then definitely value to price. I mean, this cost me 1,700 Rand. But if I wanted, let's say, the DJI Mic Mini, it's probably going to sound, to the naked ear, it's probably going to sound very similar, especially without any sound effects added or like post-production added. It's going to sound very similar, and I think it's going to have negligible performance increases. What I do like about the DJI though is its compatibility, because it can work with any other DJI products very easily. So if you have like a drone, or you have like 360 cameras and action cameras and stuff like that, it's like that's gonna work. That's gonna work really well. Whereas with the Saramonic, you need that very specific version for that very specific thing that you want to use this for. I have the Q5 because I've got an Android device. If I had, let's say, an iOS device, I needed the Lightning port one, and that is the Q3 or the Q4. So it's, you have to have that weird variation in between. But I mean, maybe it's to cut costs, to be honest. There's a likelihood that that's the case. Overall, if I had to rate this microphone out of 10, I think I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. If they could work on that ground noise level, just a teensy bit, like a noise cancellation, like a slight noise cancellation on it, or maybe even not even like a slight noise cancellation, they can even try something like, not a noise gate, but you get something called an expander. And that expander kind of brings some of the softer noises down while keeping the louder noises louder. So I think if they can work on some kind of like an integrated expander or some sort of like a compressor or something, that would be nice. And then obviously the name scheme should change. I mean, Saramonic, you're gonna have to do something. It's too confusing, especially for the like normal person. Then I'm fine with it. For the price, absolutely fantastic. There's nothing that even comes close to this in the same price range. Well, not that I've seen, at least. If there is something that you guys know about, let me know in the comments, I guess, below. In any case, with that being said, if you want to see more reviews like this in the real world, as they say, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys. This game you can play until you break, and you say that you made addition great. Fast paced is what you say.